If I had to describe Betty Ford in one word, it would be candid. She spoke her mind. I think the American public really liked her for that. From an early age, Betty Ford wanted to be a dancer.
She studied dance, modern dance, hoping in fact to one day become a professional dancer.
She moved to New York City so that she could dance in Martha Graham's dance troupe. Betty Ford performed at Carnegie Hall, but her mother eventually convinced her to move back to Grand Rapids and settle down. Betty met Gerald Ford while he was campaigning for Congress.
They did get married just 2 weeks before he was sworn into office. So she was involved in politics from the very, very beginning. Betty Ford is the only First Lady whose husband was not elected vice president or president.
She was thrust into the position after Watergate toppled Richard Nixon. The next month, they discovered a lump in her right breast. 2 days after that, the breast was removed. Betty Ford was lying in the hospital room, and she said she got to thinking about the power of the woman in the White House, the power to do good in this position.
This was a time when breast cancer was just not talked about. It was considered embarrassing. Mammography was a new technology.
So for Mrs. Ford to speak openly about her breast cancer was startling, stunning, amazing. She encouraged women to go have mammograms, and she pushed forward breast cancer research and lifted the stigma. It was a remarkable thing that she did, remarkably brave.
I think this did more to impact America than anything any First Lady ever did, just because of the number of lives she saved. Betty Ford's chief cause in the White House was the Equal Rights Amendment. When she got to the White House, ERA ratification was pretty much stalled. So Betty Ford spent a lot of time lobbying for the ERA. She did this in public and she did it behind the scenes. Betty Ford also tried to get a woman appointed to the cabinet and the Supreme Court. She said that she was employing all means necessary, including pillow talk at the end of the day when she thought her husband was the most vulnerable.
Betty Ford is probably best known for the stigma that she took away from alcoholism. She openly admitted about her own alcoholism. Her father and brother were also alcoholics.
In the 1960s, she had a pinched nerve and was treated for this chronic pain with painkillers.
That was really the beginning of her struggle with drugs and alcohol.
She went to a rehab that was predominantly designed for men. And she said women's issues, particularly regarding alcoholism and women's issues in general, were very different than men's.
She eventually will create the Betty Ford Center for treating addiction issues and will stipulate that 50% of the beds would be for women. Her work for women throughout her time as First Lady would continue into this new stage of her life.